Hey everybody, it's Doug Shelf with the Make Maine Your Home team over Remax Oceanside. If you're thinking about buying a home, maybe in the next few months up here in Maine, you're probably looking online. Things can sell quickly, a lot of competition. It's like, how do you set yourself apart to make sure you're able to buy a house in the timeline that you want to buy a house? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about how to set yourself apart, how to get ready, all that kind of stuff regarding buying a home here in Maine, especially if it's in a competitive situation. So let's do this. Okay, so the first step about buying a home is making the decision to buy the home. So congratulations on that. The next thing is to know the market a little bit. You may have noticed if you've looked online or if you're looking at houses, it can still be very competitive in areas like Portland, Brunswick, Saco Biddeford, the cities in Maine. Things can sell quickly, which means you're up against other buyers, and that can be very frustrating. Maybe a pro tip is if you're looking outside of those areas, the more rural you go, the less competitive it is. So if you're looking at Maine, you're like, hey, I want some elbow room. It does get a little bit easier only because it's less competitive. Competition is real, and we're going to help you kind of set yourself apart, make sure that you're ready to go and beat the competition when you're looking to buy a house. First things first, like before you go out physically looking at houses, not just on, of course, if you want to look at houses online, do that all day long. That's the fun part, get to look at pretty photos and all that kind of stuff. But when you're like, hey, look, I really want to buy a house, a lot of people are like, well, what do I do first? Reach out to your professionals. And the first thing that you got to do is if you're financing, if you're going to get a mortgage, talk to a lender, talk to a mortgage broker to figure out how much you can afford, everything that you need, make sure you're comfortable with the payments. And these are the people that you're going to work with to get comfortable with exactly what you're going to be paying on a monthly basis, but overall, that way you can be ready for it and you're not like playing any guessing games. Because yes, you can use those mortgage calculators to figure out what your payment is and all that stuff. And I highly recommend those because at least they'll give you a quick snapshot. If you're like, oh, can I afford that house? Clickety, click, 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 yes or no. Sit down with the professional, get yourself pre-approved, give them all the documents that they need and get really pre-approved. So then once you do find the house, it's going to help you with making an offer. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but really go through the whole motions of getting fully pre-approved or pre-qualified. They have all the paperwork from you and they give you the stamp of approval like you're ready to go. The next thing is hire a real estate broker. If you are looking here in the state of Maine, we would love to help you out, but sit down with a realtor, talk about what's happening in the market. They can also help give you a good lender to speak with or a good insurance agent to speak with because you're going to need that when you purchase a home. Us as real estate brokers, we have great access to contractors and literally everything that you're going to need. We're going to be able to help you out. But more importantly, we're going to be able to help you find that home, talk to you about what's happening in the market and set you up to be the best you can be to compete with those other buyers. You're going to want to be ready. Once you're kind of like pre-approved with your lender, you've talked to a real estate broker and you're looking at houses online. Now it's like, oh, I want to go out there and see them. You're going to want to move quickly. If you're looking in the areas that we talked about that, are hot, so to speak, things can sell very quick. All right. Oftentimes, if a house comes on the market and it's great and it's in a good location, and it's priced right, there's going to be competition and it can sell very quick in a matter of days. So you're going to want to be like, ooh, I see this great house. Reach out to your realtor, set up time to go see it, and get out there and move quick. Even if you're looking in other areas that maybe things don't sell that quick, it still is good to, as soon as you see it, send it off to your professional and get on it and go out and look at it. Limiting any contingencies. Some contingencies, what I mean is like when you're putting in an offer, you're going to be contingent on financing. All right, if you're paying cash, you're going to want to have your proof of funds available. But if you're financing, you're going to want to have those letters. And if you are financing, you're going to have to make your offer contingent on that. Another contingency is like inspections. You're going to want to have a due diligence period to review the house and make sure there's nothing wrong with it. If there's a lot of competition, you may have to waive that. We don't recommend it, but we could talk to you about some strategies to help out with maybe not waiving it and still making you comfortable when going under contract, making sure that you're not buying a lemon. All right, that's really what the due diligence and the inspection period is. We've been seeing a lot of inspections on offers nowadays. We're seeing less and less like people waiving inspections, which is good. But if it's a really competitive house and there's, let's say, 20 offers on the property, chances are some of them may be waiving inspections, and you just want to be mindful of that. And you don't want to do anything that you're not comfortable with. So you want to think that through ahead of time and see what you're comfortable with before you're even going in. Because if you need to move quick, you're going to want to go for it. Some other contingencies might be like if you have a house to sell, like if you need to sell your house in order to buy something, you're going to want to have a strategy in place there. And there are a lot of different ways to achieve that and a lot of great lending programs out there to help out with that. So again, you're going to want to sit down with your professionals and be prepared. So hopefully this video is helpful for you so far. We got a lot of great information coming up as well, so stick around. But we're looking at some stats, and only about 5% of you are subscribed to our channel, and we'd like to bump that up even to just 7%. So please hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notified. We come out with episodes every week to talk about real estate in Maine, cool things in Maine. We get silly, we have some fun. And if you end up not liking our videos, you can always unsubscribe, but please help us out. Google and YouTube love it when you subscribe and comment. So please do all of the above for us. We'd really appreciate it. And thanks for watching. Searching for a house. This can be frustrating and cumbersome, and it's, there's a lot to think about. You might end up putting, offers in on a few properties. You might come up short, and it can get frustrating. But stay positive, stay flexible. We always say, like, if you miss out on a house, there's probably a reason for it. It almost always works out. You find the better house. Once you walk into the house, you're like, this is mine, I gotta have it. Chances are we're gonna be able to make it happen for you. The search is over. You found the house, and you're like, hey, I love this, I gotta have it. We're gonna talk to you about a few things that maybe we do and like you can do to help, win the property and make it a strong offer. First thing that we look at is a strong offer with your local lender's support. Like, what we lean on our lenders a lot. You could talk to them and say, hey, can you call that listing broker for us? Use that to your advantage. Make sure that the letter that you have from the lender spells out everything, that they went through everything and basically said, hey, this is ready to go. And using a local person is really important too, because if you're using the big banks and all that stuff, well, they could be great and be giving you good deals and all that. Sometimes the local people here are just kind of like, hey, if you're using this big bank, it's going to be a pain in the butt. Include a personalized letter, if appropriate. We do want to be careful with this because you don't want to say things that you're not supposed to. And we can guide you through that on how to write a good letter that can help you out. Work with an agent that can build some rapport with the listing side. And that's where we come in handy. Like me and my team, we've been doing this for a long time. We know a lot of the local brokers. And oftentimes, we know that person on the other side. And we can make a phone call and say, hey, we can give some information and kind of talk it up. And hopefully that leans our way, because we have great systems on getting transactions to closing, we kind of prove that to the other side. And it really helps out. Stay responsive and fast on things. That's partially our job, but it's also your job as the buyer. Like if we need something, we need it quick, be on top of it, be ready for it. Our clients that are like on top of things and we're on top of things, those are usually things that win the day and win that offer and win ultimately that perfect house that you're looking for. What we want to talk about now is like we have it labeled as pay the price. And we're not saying that we want you to overpay for homes. We're going to pull comparable sales, to show you what things are worth. But sometimes when there's a lot of competition, it's going to make you stretch. It might make you a little uncomfortable. And you just want to be mindful of that because you're going to need to make quick decisions. And, if it comes to the point where it's like, hey, this is just getting to an uncomfortable level, maybe it's not the house for you. Maybe it's time to move on. But if you have the means and you really want the house, you just need to be prepared to kind of push that envelope and go after it. We do sometimes recommend, like, let's say your budget is here. Sometimes we say, hey, you might want to be looking at homes in this price range just because you might need some room to fix it up and things like that. But if you also have room, you can maybe say, hey, I really want this house. This is the perfect location. The house is just about perfect. I want to stretch it a little bit. And you're going to want to be mindful of that so you're not up against your ceiling, because you don't want to be uncomfortable down the road once you're in the house and be like, oh crap, I'm house poor, as they say. So, but you do want to be mindful of that sometimes you might have to pay that price. You might have to step up and write that check, so to speak. Just be prepared for that emotionally and financially. So the good thing is, once you're out there, you're searching for houses, you put an offer, it gets accepted, and you're aggressive, and you did it. Congratulations. Now you get to enjoy everything Maine has to offer: lobster rolls, trails, the ocean. Congratulations. And hopefully we can get you there. And if you have any questions about any of this, please comment below. All our contact information is in the description. You can head over to our site that, searching for homes and all that stuff. We would love to work with you as well. And remember, if you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone. Hey, come here. Hey, YouTube thinks you're going to like one of these videos. So click on it and let me know what you think. And remember, come back again soon because we do a video every Friday.